I grew up in India, and it's a country that has almost no trade with its largest neighbor, Pakistan. And as a result, there's an impoverishment of ideas, uh, products, and the notion of what goes on in the other country is an acute distortion of what really happens there. Indians seem to think that Pakistanis, and so I'm just being figurative over here, have buck teeth and horns on their head, and vice versa is the image that prevails there. And as a result, both countries have lost out. Low prices for products that the Pakistanis produce, and lower produce for the of products that the Indians produce that the Pakistanis could use. And it's resulted in hostility that's lasted 65 years. Arguably, that wouldn't be there had there been trade. Classic instance of free trade promoting peace is, I guess, the US and Canada. Nobody can foresee in this and several lifetimes down the road a war between Canada and the US. In contrast is two countries that I was associated with growing up, India and Pakistan, where it's been a perpetual, continual, if not continuous, state of war or hostilities, so, and with very little trade. So free trade promotes peace, unquestionably, just based on the empirical evidence that we see wherever countries that have now decided to trade and previously did not. And I therefore think that erecting a protectionist wall is only going to result in others not having a sense of what their other country is about, whether it's across oceans or right across borders. Free trade actually promotes the very egalitarianism that its detractors seem to think it takes away from. Why? Because it forces me as a business person to be competitive. I need to be competitive not just for what I produce, which is a service, but also for the employees that I have. So free trade and free movement and migration of people makes me want to offer, whether I'm philosophically inclined to do so or not, the best wage that the market would demand. And the best wage includes excellence. So if I don't pay the right wage in a market economy that is open to competition from different parts, not just of the state, but countries, then I'm the loser as a business person. So it actually addresses concerns of people who think that business people actually are not interested in one part of the asset class, which is their people, which is the biggest asset class, arguably. And that really bolsters the case for free trade. Free trade promotes a free movement of ideas. It's the antithesis of protectionism in the sense that it allows people to mix with a wide range of ideas and people. In my business, which is the tourism business, free trade actually enables people to cross. As we all know now today, there's people move across countries with far more ease than they did 10 years ago. So it brings about a mix of ideas, a cross-pollination, if you will, that results in better ideas, because any insular situation, which is what protectionism will do, it erects a wall around people and ideas. So your ideas are not tested, they're not battle tested. So allowing free trade will enable that movement, the flow, to test false ideas and actually validate good ideas, which is what free trade is about. Businesses that are allowed to compete in an open market are compelled to abide by the rules of the marketplace in a free economy. And you cannot have, and implicit in that is transparency. So that by itself free trade brings about transparency, which in turn brings about morality. Because it's hard to be immoral in the societal sense of understanding of the word when there is transparency and free trade. That the transparency that is brought about by free trade. There's this notion, I guess, particularly amongst some people, that it's better to buy from those that you know. Well, how narrow or how wide do you want to draw that circle? By definition, the circle would have to be narrow, because whether it's narrow in the sense of your country or your state, there will be a resentment for somebody, even from Texas, for buying something that's a competing good produced by Oklahoma. Similarly, there'll be resentment against buying something from Canada when you can say it's bought from the US. So if every Canadian were to buy only things made in Canada, then we are poorer for that. And if every American were to buy goods only from America, then we are poorer for that. Going back to the country of my birth, it's the same thing, where the states are more sharply defined in terms of differences, and you say, why should I buy something from a Tamil which is what I am by birth, as opposed to somebody who's from a Hindi state, because they speak a different language and therefore presumably have different values. But we all lose out in that because you don't get the benefit of what the Hindi states produce, and the Hindi states don't get a benefit of what Tamil states produce. And you just get better by looking at arguably a better product, and the best man or best woman or best person wins out in this process. Protectionism is a word that's often bandied to show that you're protecting existing industries from outside evil, rapacious forces. All protectionism does is it protects a narrow group and does not actually expand job opportunities or the economy.